what's up with cussing Christians? Like, this is something that we see happen. I mean, this has always happened, right? Like, this is not new. Cussing Christians is not new. You know what I mean? By any means.
Yeah.
But maybe from a social media standpoint or artist standpoint or something of the sort, I feel like we're seeing it more, especially amongst maybe even the younger generation. I'm the oldest one on the pod. Maybe amongst the younger cats, they don't really seem to care as much. And ain't nobody trying to say cussing is sending you to hell or questioning your salvation. It's just interesting. What's up with these cussing Christians? Bree, what you think?
Oh, my bad.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things to where it's like, and even I know my sister and I use the phrase, it's like, oh, well, I just saw somebody, get upset and, they got in an argument and had to Kirk Franklin somebody. Like, it's like, it's one thing for, like a person to have a moment, but it's like, where do those words come from? Because it's like, how does that stuff get in your heart to the point that it comes out of your mouth? And it's like, you think that it's like we can consume certain types of media and it doesn't have an effect on us. But it's like you don't really know until you get in a situation, you get upset and the words come out, or you just casually, use them in conversations. And it's like, okay, why is that there? I mean, that's not something we should be doing. But it's alarming to just see so much of it, though. It's definitely been a lot more than in the past.
Yeah. So I grew up in black church, right? I grew up in church where everything was a sin. Everything was wrong. You can't listen to secular music, right? You can't go to the mall after 9 o'clock. You can't watch rated R movies. Like, everything is sinful. You heard me. So if you're talking to girls after church, you going to hell. You heard? Listen, I'd be in youth group and they say, y'all here trying to talk to girls. Yeah, duh. That's what we do. Like, I never understood why that was wrong, right? So, and of course, cursing was in that realm and in that space of things. So as I get older, as I mature, as I have different experiences with different cultures of churches, some of the stuff that they told me was wrong on here growing up is very regular on this side. And they have a different brand of Christianity that they subscribe to. Mm-hmm. So I'm in this dynamic now where, hey, my morals, I was raised on. To be clear,
you're talking black church versus white church, right?
Not necessarily.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not necessarily. The first part, black church for sure, where everything's sinful.
Okay.
But the second part, when you have different, like I think all cultures very much cuss and call themselves Christians. But black people were the only people that you can't cuss or you're not a Christian. So with that, I'm in this daily conundrum where I'm like, yo, is this okay? Like, is this wrong? Like, I don't know if it's wrong because I was just taught wrong growing up and it's been cool and it's never been a problem, or nah, y'all tripping. Y'all shouldn't be doing that. Y'all slipping, tighten up. So now I've gotten to the place as I'm in ministry, I don't know a pastor that doesn't cuss. All the pastors I know curse, right? And now, of course, they're not going to do it on Sunday morning. They're not going to do it in front of people, the parishioners, if you will.
Not going to do it on social media.
Yeah. But like behind closed doors, like I said, they doing what they doing. Feel me? So cursing now has been something that's so regular and I'm so accustomed to that it's like, yo, it doesn't faze me anymore. But I don't know if that's wrong or if I've just matured. You feel me? So when it comes to Christians that are cursing, especially, well, hold on a second. So now we're switching to CHH, and now CHH is free of all rules. There's no rules anymore. You can do whatever you want, and you can justify it, right? So with that, again, these CHH artists, and a lot of y'all are involved in the culture and behind the scenes, we know they cuss. There were domination artists who were cursing up a storm in that green room, cursing up a storm in, just being out and about. But when you're in front of the fans, when you're in front of the people that matter, when you're in front of your people that you have to be this certain way, then you don't do it. So, like I said, I'm on the fence about it actually, I'm not on the fence about it. I don't think that it's wrong, per se. Hey, Jesus was cussing. Peter was cussing. Paul was cussing. He called them snakes and vipers. That's cussing to them. You call somebody a snake and a viper back then. So there's not. So we can't say that there's not a precedent for it, and we can't say that it's sinful because the man who never sinned did it. So it's not. We can't say that it's sinful, but it may just be a little untasteful sometimes. You may have to understand your audience sometimes, and you may have to understand that, hey, this may affect how people look at me. And I think that's okay within CHH. I think we're in this space where people want to be viewed as who they really are and not who they really put on to be. Like I said, I told Quote this it was yesterday. I told Quote, I said, yo, this is why I love Swoop, because Swoop had the most Jesus-centered cussing post that he just posted the other day, right? And he was cussing in his post, but he gave glory and honor to God about how he got through his part of his life that he was, getting through last month. So I can appreciate that people are not having to hide who they really are anymore. But at the same time, I can't condone cussing as far as saying that I'm going to do it, because I know that there's a certain maturity level that comes along with that. I'm mature enough to know, all right, you're not going to go to hell for cussing, right? But if you're cussing and you're like just cussing just to be cussing because you think it's cool, or you think that, people are going to respect you more, I think that's a little different. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not a cusser. That's not what I do. I don't cuss in public or private. So it's just a thing that I'm like, this is who I am and this is who I'm not, and this is who I'm rolling with. So I'm glad to see these CHH artists that are feeling more free and feeling like they can do this. And I wish more people would come out as far as being their own selves. But at the same time, you got to know what crowd you're catering to.
What you say, Trish?
Yeah, I agree with Corey on a lot of what he said.
I'm 2 for 2. Trish agreeing with the kid.
For the most part, yeah. Like I think what we definitely have to consider is like younger believers who may just came to the Lord and they was cussing all crazy, and they're like, wait, hold up, like what's the difference? Like what? Some people could be confused, and yeah, cursing is itself, curse words itself, the words are not sinful. It becomes sinful when you're using it in a particular context. So if I'm using it in a way that is, my heart is like Bree was saying, I did a Kirk Franklin on you. Like if I'm angry and I'm literally cursing you with my words, then yeah, that's all the way sinful. If I'm telling you go to H and do all, that type of stuff, like that's absolutely sinful. But if I'm just like using the words willy-nilly, just out of like, just talking, it's not necessarily sinful. However, I just think we need to err on the side of caution. It is becoming way too normalized for me. For me, what I'm saying? Like I hear it a lot too, and it doesn't bother me as much as it did initially, but it is becoming it. But what bothers me is that it's so normal to people where it's like you don't even have any, you're not even setting any boundaries for others. So so now I'm just because I have the freedom. First of all, we have the freedom to do anything, right? We have the liberty to do whatever. But there should, in your liberties, are you thinking about others, right? Are you thinking about how it may affect the people around you? And if you're not, and if you don't care, well, that's a whole nother conversation. Because a lot of people say they don't care about what other people think. And it's not about what they think. It's about how is it affecting the people around you. And if
I think it had. Go ahead. I'm sorry. No, go ahead. Finish. I think that though, in some situations, so I was at dinner last night with a few of my friends, and it was like, yo, like, what would you want to change about youth group? I was like, I want everybody to come in there cussing. Like, I want them to be themselves. I want the kids to don't feel like you got to act different in front of class when you eat rather than Monday. But I was telling, hear me what I'm saying. I want everybody to come in cussing. I'm not. People
not literally saying.
Right.
You want them to, yeah, I got you.
My crowd knows what I'm talking about. I don't gotta explain that.
So I guess.
Hold on. I'm not done. Let me finish my point. So what I'm saying is, the closer that people feel like they can be themselves, the more impact that you have potentially to have on their lives. So I also felt like, yo, pastors can't sin, or the whole church thing is fake. God's not real. Boom, boom, boom. Where does this come from? Where does this mindset come from? And it comes from because we have to please a certain audience. We have to act for certain people. And the same people that we're acting for, they come in our churches acting. They come in our churches acting like everything's cool. So everybody is not being real. And nobody is coming in saying, yo, this is what it is. This is what it's not. Listen, if a pastor gets on stage and it's like, hey, man, I messed up this week. Let me tell y'all about my sins. I would so respect that. I would so enjoy that. I would so feel like, oh, I bet this is what's up. But like, it has to be from a genuine, real place, because we have to stop portraying and perpetuating that pastors don't sin, that Christians don't sin. Because when we inevitably do sin, then, you know, we're judged and we're ridiculed and things like that. So if we start to change the narrative around what that looks like, then I think more people can have potential to get impacted. And I'm not saying cussing is a sin, but I think it's the more real thing, because cussing is a real thing among people. People curse. Sinning is a real thing among people. People sin. So why do we censor ourselves everywhere but church? Church should be the place that you can be the most real at. So that's what I was saying when it comes to like, yo, I don't want you to come in youth group, say a cuss word and be like, oh, I'm sorry. Nah, if that's what you do, that's what you do. Like, I want that realness of how it's gonna, you know, play out.
Yeah, and I guess I mean, maybe I'm the old head, you know what I mean? I don't equate cussing to being real. I just don't.
Yeah.
And
it
so
is. That's how they talk. If that's how you talk Monday through Saturday.
I personally feel when people are using choice language,
say it, quote,
60 to 70% of the time, I feel like they cloud chasing. I feel like they trying to stir something up. They trying to you know what I mean? They're trying to be harder than they are. They're trying to, you know what I mean? Like 60 to 70% of the time,
that's
I
a
feel
high
like
percentage, folks. That's a high percentage.
Unnecessary.
I think people curse, man. People do it.
Yeah, and I mean, and maybe that's the case. You know what I mean? And again, we've all established it's not a sin, right? We've all established that theoretically. Now, cussing at somebody theoretically is, right? We do recognize that as possibly being to actually curse someone per se. I just don't personally understand the need as a person who hasn't really cussed since I was 9-10 years old. You know what I mean? And
that's
again,
you though.
Yeah.
Like, so, how'd you grow up?
But I mean, at the end of the day, like, we'd be here all night, you know, trying to discuss whether or not cussing is a sin. Like, I think that's a moot point, but I think it's still about distinction. Like, you know, the Bible does talk about our conversation and what types of things are supposed to come out of our mouths. Yeah, so it's like, you know, God always put certain guidelines in place so that, okay, this is the way, you know, the world acts. This is the way I want my children to act. Just so that people can know, like, by our lifestyles, they can market. Yeah, they can see that there's a difference. So I think sometimes it's just a matter of preference and making a decision to do something so that you're not a stumbling block for somebody else. Instead of, I don't see it as I got to censor myself, but sometimes you might have to because you don't know who's hearing you.
And that right there, what you're saying right there, it can apply it can apply to any type of language. Like, when we talk, let's talk about like the more practical way. Let's not even talk about like as a spiritual thing or being a believer. Like as a person, a human being, when I enter into particular places, right? You ain't gonna hear me talking like, yo, whatever. Like, you're not gonna hear me do that because I'm aware of my surroundings and I have self-control with my mouth. So if I like, to me, it's just like like, what's the point? You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it'd be like, okay, that you could have saved that word. You know what I'm saying? You could have just saved it. But I understand, like in music, sometimes, you know, when you're writing and, you know, you can't find another word. And I'm not making excuses. Don't hear me say that. I just get it as a rapper. Like, I understand sometimes they feel like that they can use these words, but as Christians, again, with the distinction thing, like I don't know. I don't prefer it. I don't really prefer hearing it when I'm like, especially if I'm listening to a Christian hip hop artist, I'm expecting a different type of lyricism. I'm just expecting different. I'm not horribly mad at you when you don't, but it's just like,
yeah.
And it goes back to what you had said and what we had talked about in a previous show about being able to listen to this music around our kids or, around certain company or whatever the case may be. And because it's a Christian artist, you think maybe I shouldn't have to worry about this coming out when I've got my kids around or whatever. Or like I said, as a music pusher, like I've spoken of before, if I'm out doing a show, if I'm on the ones and twos, or if I'm programming a song into a playlist or whatever the case may be, it's just the last thing I think I should have to worry about is the language coming from said artist. But it is what it is. We get it. We understand why you might, whatever. I'm just saying, if it's you, let it be you. If it ain't you, don't be fake about it. Don't be just doing it, do it. And please make sure you know your surroundings, know what's going on, know what's around you, what's popping off. Because again, you can cause another to fall, right? You can cause there to be less of a distinction. That is very true. That's my
confusion.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
The babies be like, why they cussing? I'm talking about baby believers. Like, why they cussing?
Yeah.
What I'm confused. Like, I thought that they do that over there. So I don't know. I haven't heard a lot of explanation from artists saying why they do it or why they don't care. So I don't know. I can't speak for everybody, but I would prefer they don't.
I'd have to agree with that. I agree with that.
I'm not mad at it for real, unless it's like unnecessary, because I just feel like it makes the opportunity for you to be on level ground, and at the cross we're all level. So rather than the air of I don't do this, I don't do that. I'm thinking about drinking. I had never drank in my life ever. Well, I still ain't really drink in my life for real. But I realized I was making it an idol more than anything. So you know what I mean. So like, and it made me feel like I'm better than other people because I don't drink. Right. So like cursing can make people feel like, oh, I'm better than people because I don't cuss. So for me, now, don't get me wrong, I still don't drink. But it's like I took that thing off of, this doesn't make me better than anybody. Like at the cross, we're all equal. So I'm not saying that I'm against Christians cussing, but I'm not necessarily going to promote it. But I'm not mad at you if you do it.
Right. I feel the same. It's a preference for me. Is like I prefer you not to. But it don't. I'm not bothered.
I don't care. I have no preference about it.
Well, you say that, Corey, but then you just said you had a little bit of an issue with the MF and Beautiful that Christian Grey said.
100%, because that's unnecessary. I'm talking about unnecessary cursing. You know what I'm saying?
Wait.
So
what?
No,
it doesn't make sense.
No.
I'm tripping.
I'm trying to figure out what is okay. So
what's unnecessary?
Oh, okay. So boom. Okay, so watch this. So thank you for letting me clarify this. When Christian Grey is on record, most of his fans are Christians. He has a huge Christian fan base, right? Audience. So for you to cuss, I feel like it's unnecessary to call a girl beautiful. So I think in that context, it's unnecessary. Now, if you're doing it and you are like on the block talking to your homies and you are, just chilling, talking to people, whatever, like I'm cool with it. But for you to cuss unnecessarily to describe a woman's beauty, I think that's Like, you don't need to do that, especially when your audience is mostly Christians. That's what I'm saying. So, like, okay, there's never a reason where it's like, yo, you have to cuss in this situation. It's very necessary. Like, I'm not saying that.
I know what you mean.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So I'm saying it does, like, to me, I'm not gonna look at you different, judge you any different because you're cursing. That's and the context outside of your fans are Christians, you have Christian music, like, it's unnecessary for you to do this. Just try to prove a point.
Right.
So what we got to do is we got to get somebody on here that cusses on a regular, so they can explain to us what the attraction is.
I know who we can get on here.
I know a couple people. Yeah, I know a couple people too. Yeah. Yo, but that's